Developing at 5. A trench rescue in West Dallas. This is video from HD Chopper 8 of the scene off Singleton and Sea Harbor Road. You can see the depth of that trench where 3 men got stuck.
Our Kevin Reese was among the first on the scene right now. He's going to join us live with what happened. Kevin, what are you seeing and what do you have?
Yeah. Well, we're standing on Singleton Boulevard right now. You can see Highway 12 in the distance behind me, give you an idea exactly where we are. It's a heavy industrial area that, as you can see, is still trying to recover from this accident, along with those 3 men who were in that trench. We can show you it is here to the west side of us where the heavy equipment, that cat and others are parked right now and where investigators are beginning their work. But let's show you some video and some pictures. We can get closer to the scene. These men were working in this trench 20 to 30 feet deep. To be clear, this trench did not collapse on them in any way, but they either broke into or cut into a sewage line and were overcome by those noxious fumes, which can include methane and sulfur dioxide and a variety of other dangerous fumes. The hazmat team was called to get those men out of there safely, but Dallas Fire Rescue was able to get those men out of that 20 to 30 foot deep trench before those guys could arrive. They were transported. 2 of them are expected to be okay. They were conscious, but a third person described to us by witnesses on the scene as extremely critical. We don't know what his further condition is right now, but they had their doubts if he was going to survive when he left the scene. Right now, the accident scene has been shut down as city and other investigators begin their work. But again, the trench did not collapse, but they were overcome by these sewage fumes, and that is what has critically injured at least 1 person and sent 3 to the hospital. In the meantime, Singleton in this industrial area is a dead-end street here, but this section of it has been shut down until further notice as investigators try to figure out how this happened. Live along Singleton in the West Dallas area, Kevin Reese, Channel 8 News.
All right, Kevin, thank you for that update. New